I'm Charuta Fadnis, and I am the Senior Vice President of Research and Product Strategy at Phocuswright. And Phocuswright, if you don't know us, we are a leading travel and travel ecosystem research company.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for joining Breaking Travel News here at ITB Berlin. It's great to be back.
It is, yes. It's my first ITB, by the way.
Well,
so yeah. I'm kind of open to the experience. I've heard so much about it.
And you've just kicked the whole thing off, so that's a pretty good way to start.
It
so
is.
You've come off the stage and you've just shared with us some incredible insights. Perhaps you could kind of share a little bit more with Breaking Travel News about what you presented today.
Absolutely. So what we do at Phocuswright is we size the travel market. And so we've been looking at how the market is going to evolve in terms of growth in gross bookings. That's the total transaction value of travel. And what we've seen is this incredible comeback of travel, especially North America, Europe in 2022. We got close to 2019 levels, which was unexpected, really. And we're seeing that growth continue over the next few years as well. We're going to see incredible growth in APAC and in the Middle East. Also, Latin America is expected to grow. North America, Europe will continue to grow, but they'll moderate a little bit. So that's what I talked about. There's also the trends that we're watching. Now, I had to pick a few given the time, but sustainability is a big one. That's on everyone's minds these days, and travel companies are actually tackling it in their own way. From our perspective, the consumer is certainly very interested. Every time we ask consumers in our surveys about sustainability, they're very interested in what's happening, how they can contribute. They're making decisions based on it. And what's interesting to note, I think it bodes well for the future certainly, is that younger consumers are much more aware and much more interested in taking action on sustainability. They're not going to not travel. Travel is still an area of interest for them, but the decisions they make around travel are going to be impacted by their considerations of sustainability. So that's a big one. I talked about self-sovereign identity, which again is something that we are keeping a very close eye on. That is going to revolutionize the way that we travel, because it's giving control to consumers of their information, all the privacy considerations. It's all going to be permissioned, and it's SSI is kind of the key to that. So that's a big thing. Digital nomads, I'm sure you've written about it quite a bit. That's a trend we see continuing. It's going to evolve. It may not be, exactly the same as it was during the pandemic, but it's certainly something that is going to stay in the minds of consumers. So I talked about that. Social media is another one that we're keeping an eye on as well, because that is going to be a vehicle for travel companies to reach their consumers, to influence their decisions as well. So those are a few of the things that I talked about.
Tell us a little bit more about that last point, the social media point, because you made some specific references to particular kind of platforms and channels. And how is that sort of social media kind of behavior evolving and directly related to travel and destination marketing, I guess?
Yeah, it's very interesting because we've, Facebook and Snap Travel. So those are things that have been around for a while. What we've seen is this incredible growth in TikTok, the short form video, right? Instagram has been a great vehicle for a lot of travel brands, but we're seeing this increased interest because of the user base of TikTok. And what we're seeing from the consumer point of view is that they're using social media to make decisions about where to go. Now, how much of that is influencer based? How much of that is based on, a replacement, so to speak, for word of mouth, becoming social media led? But the decision around where to go, that is influenced much more right now by social media. Once you get into the destination, there's a little bit less, but I think that's what we'll see evolve. And it's such a fast moving space as well. Travel companies are still kind of figuring out how they can use it to the best of their advantage. Social media companies are still figuring out what their strategy is to increase their business from the travel segment. So it's going to be an area that evolves over the next few years, and we'll definitely see more influence, I think, from social media companies on the entire travel life cycle.
And we're always looking for those that are kind of pioneering and changing the game. for you, from a destination point of view or from a brand point of view, who do you look to as being sort of almost the kind of the helping us kind of navigate towards that kind of North Star?
It's really hard because a lot of companies are doing a lot of different things. I think a lot of destination management companies have taken the lead in terms of, trying tourism dispersion strategies, for example, because before the pandemic, we were all talking about overcrowding, over-tourism, depleting resources, making it difficult for locals, thanks to, the rental stock getting low. So I think there are a lot of DMCs that are leading the charge in terms of how they can disperse tourists better, how they can perhaps spread the attention of tourists to less visited places. And so there are, a lot of I would say there's a lot of leadership from the DMOs. The airlines are still figuring it out. So it's interesting. There are some airlines that are focusing on carbon offsetting, some which are focusing on sustainable aviation fuels as a way to offset their footprint. There are some that are looking at the consumer and saying, hey, would you like to buy, a fare that's perhaps a little higher, but that is going to be offset by us at the back end. So lots and lots of initiatives just across the travel industry around sustainability.
Listen, thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's great to talk to you.